forgot, so we're going to do this one. Okay. Did everybody have a good weekend? Yes, good. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good deal. Okay. So I think for today's class, we're going to try to get through the chapter 1 and the readings, and then the article about Columbus. That's my goal for today. I don't want to start chapter 2 yet. We'll do that on Wednesday. Your quiz over chapters 1 and 2 is Wednesday. It opens Wednesday. And then your discussion for chapters 1 and 2 open Thursday. So I thought if we go ahead and discuss that Monday, Wednesday, then you should be ready for both of those by then. And you should have the readings done hopefully by then too. If you haven't finished them yet, I was hoping. We'll just do the beginning of it and then you can finish it up. Hopefully by the end of the week. Okay. Was there anything in particular? Did anybody have anything that they noticed right off the bat or that they wanted to ask about or discuss right off the bat? Or you don't care, you just want me to hurry up and talk and get it over with?
Well, one thing I wanted to say was those SI meetings, like, are those the only 2 times they will be available?
So the SI meetings, I think, is Natasha on? Is Natasha here? I don't.
Well, the email said, I think Monday, Wednesday, 2 to 4.
Yes.
Which, if that's the case, I have class like during both of those times right after this.
Okay.
So am I just out of luck or?
No, I don't think that'll be like a set thing. She may offer more. She may. I know specifically during exam weeks, the week before midterms and finals, they'll be offered more in those couple before those specific things. But I don't think that's just a set thing. I think each week she'll try to work stuff out with you guys because I know. I don't know her class schedule because I know she's taking classes too. I don't know her class schedule, but I do know that she has other things that she does as well. And so I don't think those will be set. I think it will be depending on the week. So you might want to check with Natasha.
Okay, thank you.
No. Sure, of course. And don't forget, you get extra credit for going to those. So, bonus. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started with the first peoples in North America. I'm going to try to share my screen. Hang on one second. Ready? No. Share. Okay. Yes? Can you see it? Yes. Awesome. Okay. So your textbook, I have a few textbooks and this one is different than the others I have used before. So they used, this textbook uses BP instead of BC or BCE. I don't know. It's weird to me. So I'm going to use BC. I hope that's okay. Just know it's all roughly the same. Okay, so first peoples in North America. So roughly, very roughly, 320,000 years ago, modern humans evolved. Where do we all start?
Siberia?
Where do we all start? Where, like originally, like
Africa.
Africa. We start there, and then eventually we start wandering out. So roughly 320,000 years ago, we evolved into what archaeologists nicely refer to as modern humans. We evolved in Africa. We slowly start walking out of Africa into Europe, into Asia, Europe, still spreading. There are a couple things that make this possible. for us to spread out. One, people are pretty adaptive. We got pretty good at adapting to colder temperatures. The further we got away from the equator, we got pretty good at adapting to colder and colder and even frigid temperatures as we get closer to the Arctic Circle. It's closer and closer. Roughly by about 25,000 BCE. No, I'm sorry. Roughly about 320,000 years ago, there were 25,000 people living all the way up as far north as Siberia. So we got pretty good at adapting to colder temperatures, which allowed us to continue to spread. So the other thing is climate change enabled the land bridge. There's an ice bridge that forms up there across the Bering Strait. So roughly 25,000 to 15,000 BC, we cross from Asia into North America. They walk across the Bering Strait there because that was covered in ice. Why were we coming across Asia and down into North America? Why did those people do that?
Hunting.
We were following food. That's exactly right. We follow the mammoth and the bison across Beringia, across the Bering Strait there. How do we know when these people actually showed up?
I guess wasn't it like artifacts they found and were able to like carbon date them?
Yes, exactly. Archaeologists have found mammoth and bison bone, human bone, teeth, artifacts. Yeah, and have carbon dated them as far back as roughly 25,000 years ago. So, so we know that there were people there roughly about that time, all the way up Canada, North America, and we slowly start to spread south. Okay, so the first group that we have in North America are these guys. They're the Paleo Indians, or what we call them, Paleo Indians. So roughly 13,000-ish BC, we have our first kind of real establishment of humans in North America. They make it south of the glaciers into North America, Canada. These guys hunt woolly mammoth with spears. That's these guys. Yeah, in packs, obviously. I wouldn't go hunt a woolly mammoth by myself with a spear. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, hunting in packs like this with spears. We know that they used spears because we found them. They're called Clovis points. They're named after the city they were found in, Clovis. Yeah, plentiful wildlife, lots of mammoth. They start to follow the mammoth further and further south. And we get a population growth. This is a set fact that will be true for just about all of human history. Whenever there is food, plentiful food, more than enough to sustain just a few people, there's always going to be a population growth. When people are fed and they're genuinely healthy and have regular access to food, there will be babies. That's always a fact. That's just, you can see it time and time again throughout history. So we've got access to plentiful food. We have the mammoths. The temperature is getting a little bit warmer, which means a better environment, more food, more babies. We have population growth. These people don't stay in one spot. They're nomadic. They spread out, which means people continue to spread all the way across North America, continuing down into North America, and even now further into what we call Mesoamerica, which is like Mexico area. Okay, so these are the very first people, or the Paleo Indians. We then move on to another kind of group of Native Americans called the Archaic era Native Americans. these guys are very, I mean, they're very similar. The only thing that makes them different from the Paleo Indians is that, well, what is the thing that makes them different? You tell me.
They weren't nomadic.
They're still kind of nomadic, but there's something else that they start doing that the people before them had.
Wasn't it agriculture?
Agriculture, yes. They start investing in learning about foraging, fruits, nuts, seeds, what plants are edible and which plants will kill you or at least make you very, very sick. You know, that all that is trial and error in the beginning there. So yes, but these archaic era Indians start just very, very basic forms of agriculture. At the very least, they're foraging and gathering. So that makes them a little bit different than the Paleo Indians before them. The other thing is we are kind of switching our diet. They're switching. I say we, but you know what I mean. They're switching their diets. The mammoth are dying off. What is happening to the mammoth?
They're going extinct.
I'm sorry. What? Say it again.
The mammoth population starts going extinct, right, because of the climate change.
Yes, exactly. The climate is changing. It is killing off the mammoth. In addition to that, we're hunting them. And historians think maybe we hunted them too fast. We didn't give them a chance to repopulate. And so it dwindled the number of mammoth that were available, plus climate change, both of those combined is killing off the mammoth. And so now we're switching over to bison more and more. There's plenty of those, especially in the middle part of North America. So we're switching over to, excuse me, they're switching over to bison. Okay. We also start focusing on hunting other smaller game, deer, and my favorite, the giant beaver. This used to be a real animal. You can't really tell by this picture, but the giant beaver used to exist, and these things got up to roughly 170 to 200 pounds. So big. My my favorite movie is The Princess Bride, and they remind me a whole lot of the ROUSs. If you've seen that movie, that to me that's what they remind me of. They're big and furry, and they have the teeth. I don't know. Anyway, but beaver is very handy because their pelts are waterproof. So they were hunted to extinction. We hunted those flat out. So anyway, but yeah, that used to be a thing. Okay, so we focus on hunting other smaller game. And we start adapting to other various landscapes. Yeah, we're moving away from the cold down into the more temperate climates. And it leads to a huge diversity in the Native American populations. Let's talk a couple differences in those. Okay, so first, you've got the bison hunters of the Great Plains. Your textbook does a very good job of describing all of these. I think they have roughly 5 or 6 big categories, and then they talk about each category specifically. I'm not going to do that. You can read that. I'm just going to hit the high points here. So bison hunters of the Great Plains, we're talking about, they're very nomadic. They don't really stay in one spot. They follow the bison herd, and they rely on them for literally everything. Food, they use their pelts for clothing and for shelter, and their bones they use for various things, and their hooves, they figure out they can melt them down to make glue. They actually were doing that 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago. They used their waste to help start fires because it's very good fuel. They literally used the bison for everything, and they used every single part of it. they use, instead of Clovis points, we have a different spearhead now. It's called a Folsom point, just like the Johnny Cash song, the Folsom point. It's named for the same city. And so what the big deal about finding Folsom points and proving that they're different is it just shows that, yes, there were people as far down as the Great Plains and like the Southwest area 10,000 years ago. At first, we thought maybe 3,000 years BC, but now we found these artifacts that prove no, they were actually there 10,000 BC. So they were there a lot longer than historians even thought, and a lot more diverse. Okay. The other thing is the bison hunters of the plain. These guys that we're talking about here, these archaic era Indians, are relatives of, but not the same Native Americans that you think of when you think of Plains Indians. Because I think when most people think of Plains Indians, they think of like Native Americans on horseback with bow and arrow chasing down buffalo type of situation. And that's certainly not the case for a very long time. Do you know when Native Americans get horses for the first time?
When the Europeans bring them over.
Exactly. So we don't even have horses in North America until roughly 1500. So we're talking 11,000 plus years before these people even had horses is when they're hunting bison. So we're not quite to those Indians yet. I mean, we'll get there, but these are not the same Indians. So, okay, Native Americans, excuse me. Okay, so then you've got the bison hunters of the Great Plains. You also have the Eastern Woodland Indians, which are more along these people, probably more the Native American type that if you grew up around this area, then this is probably the Native Americans you learned about in your history classes. The Native Americans who settled probably more east of the Mississippi River. So Mississippi, Ohio, Tennessee, the Cumberland Valley, all the way up to the Great Lakes and the Atlantic coast area. So that whole area. It's a whole different environment because it's very forested out in this general direction. So we have a lot more trees. So their most prevalent type of food is deer. Mostly we're hunting deer now. It's not bison. These guys, the Eastern Woodland Indians, they start to make more permanent type living settlements. So we've got, I mean, they're still nomadic because their homes can be taken down and put up pretty easily. But they can stay put if they want. It's an option for them. They're not 100% nomadic. So that's a difference. There are a few, oh, here you go. Here's a good example. There is that's sort of a more permanent structure that they would set up, but that can be taken down and carried with them if need be. I know most of the time we think of like teepees or wigwam or that type of situation, but they weren't all like that. Some of them look like this. And this would be an example of a Eastern Woodland Indian. Would anybody care to venture a guess about what tribe this guy is from? This guy represents? Anybody?
Cherokee.
No.
That's the only one I know.
Yeah, that's okay. It's good. Everybody always guesses Cherokee first. It's good.
Choctaw.
No, but we're getting there. Let me give you a hint. And check his hair situation. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, he is a Mohawk Indian. That's not just a punk rock hairstyle from the 80s. That was a Native American tribe, the Mohawk Indians. And each one of those feathers represents something that he did. He earned every one of those feathers, and they would tie them into their hair and wear them into battle like that. So anyway, okay. But an example of an Eastern Woodland Indian. Okay, other examples of more settled Native Americans, not as nomadic. So we've got the mound builders, which that's exactly what they did. They built mounds. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is the most famous example. This is Snake, what is it? The Great Serpent Mound. That's what it's called. It's the Great Serpent Mound, and it's in Ohio. That's not a very old photo. You can still see it. It's still visible. It is 1,300 feet long and still over 3 feet high. It's a pretty big mound, but it's supposed to represent a serpent. That's what it's supposed to look like there at the bottom. So there you go. So you have the mound builders. You also have Pueblo dwellers. Pueblo dwellers are mainly in the Southwest. So Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, even that area. The thing is, it is very hot and it's very dry. So Pueblo dwellers had to figure out how to adapt to that environment pretty quickly. And they become very good at building Pueblo, which is sand and mud and a little water baked in the sun. It's very sturdy. And they become experts on irrigation in order to grow their own food. There's very little water out there, so they became experts at irrigation quickly. They realized they had to be able to do that in order to grow food and survive. So they did. They built these Pueblos. They are multi-family, multi-level living structures. And they're very impressive. If you look at them, actually, like the original ones, it's incredibly impressive. These Native American Pueblo, the homes, are the largest multi-family homes in North America, all the way up until the 1850s, when everybody else figures out how to build apartments in cities. So they're very impressive structures. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty impressive what they did with sand and mud and a little water. Yeah. Anyway, so the most famous Pueblo dwellers were the Anasazi. They not only figured out how to make really good Pueblo structure, they also decided and figured out that if you put them under a cave ledge or a rock ledge, mountain ledge like this, it's better. Why would that be better? Why?
You're heating?
It would be cooler.
Yes, definitely. Have you ever been in a cave? You know, it's way cooler in a cave than it is outside. This is sort of the same situation. You're protected from the elements and the temperature up under there. So the Anasazi figured that out, and they built huge, huge homes and massive structures in the sides of these cliffs and caves all across the Southwest. The most famous is Pueblo Bonito, and it is in Chaco Canyon, which is in New Mexico. And that's still there. That's still standing. That's a recent-ish picture as well. So it's still there, which is impressive to me. Yeah, hundreds of people lived in Pueblo Bonita. And if you notice the little circles that are cut out, those are called kiva. And the kiva are basically where they practiced their religious ceremonies. Historians believe that the Anasazi were really big believers in the supernatural. I hate to use that word, but they were very focused on the effects of the moon and the stars and the sun on their daily life. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay, so their kiva, the cutouts here, they're kind of like underground holes in the ground, essentially is what they are. But they use those for their religious ceremonies, which they held a lot of. So anyway, but you can see there's a bunch of them all spread around. So, okay. The Anasazi lived in the Southwest until roughly about 1150-ish AD. And there's a huge drought that comes through and they cannot survive the drought. So they, those that don't die from the drought wander off and join other tribes or they died out. Yeah, for the most part. There's a map in your textbook. I don't know what page it's on. Mine doesn't really have pages. I don't know what the deal is with mine. I have the online version. I don't know. Anyway, but I wrote down map 1.3. It's a really good map to show you where all of the different Native Americans are spread out, where all the different tribes are sort of generally at in North America. So, okay. Let's do Mesoamerica real quick. What time is it? What do we got here? Okay, not bad. Let's do Mesoamerica real fast. Okay. So Mesoamerica, we're talking about Middle America. Middle America's not middle America as in, you know, Ohio, but like Middle America as in between North and South America, the continents. So we've got Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, those countries right there in the middle. And there are several Mesoamerican tribes, huge tribes. And I almost hesitate to call them tribes because they're not even tribes. They're empires in their own right. Like they have millions of people and a very structured hierarchy, and people know their place and have specific jobs, and they are run like an empire, like a country, for hundreds of years. I'm only going to talk about one of them. In your book, it talks about the others, but I'm just going to talk about the Aztec. So the Olmec are the first really to show up. And then you've got the Aztec Empire, the Mayans, and the Inca are really the big ones that are spread out through Mesoamerica. And all of them are huge and structured and really empires in their own right. But we're going to focus on the Aztec. Okay. So when I say that these cultures were, when these tribes were big, they were huge. Your book has the statistic in there. I have something else from earlier, but anyway, in the 1490s, the population of Mesoamerica was the same as the population of Europe, the entire continent of Europe. So we're not talking about just a small batch of spread out Native American tribes. We're talking about a densely populated, huge empires. Yeah. So let's talk the Aztec. The Aztec, your book refers to them as the Mexica. That's another word for the Aztec. It's the same thing. I think people are a little more familiar with Aztec, so that's the one I use. Okay. But they are polytheistic. They believe in many gods. They built temples to them. These pyramid type structures are temples to worship the various gods that they celebrated. They founded their society on originally what was a lake. The name of it is in your book. I don't speak Spanish, and I'm afraid if I try to say these words, it would be really bad. But they're in your book. You can see them. You'll see it. But they founded their society on the lake. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was huge, huge. It basically consisted of two separate islands. Just the capital was two separate islands. One island, the bigger island, was mainly used for, it's where people lived. It's where government buildings were. It's where schools were located. It's where the army was housed. It was where prisons were located, markets for buying food and goods. Anything you'd expect in a major city was on this one island. The other island was set up specifically for agriculture. All it did was grow the food to feed everybody on the main island, basically. So, and they had a go-between, like a bridge, basically, huge bridge, go-between. And everybody in this society had a job. Everybody. Their culture is incredibly structured and very stratified, meaning there are groups of people in this society and they definitely have status and rank. At the top, you've got warriors. They're a very warlike society, war-focused society. So at the top are the warriors. Warriors above anybody else, even priests, which is really rare in structured societies. So warriors at the top, priests right under that, and then government officials below that. So, but if you were a warrior in the Aztec Empire, you're way up there at the top. You got all the stuff. Everybody just gave you all the stuff, basically. Yeah. Okay, they focused on two gods in particular, but the main god that they focused on, I wrote it phonetically. Here you go. So I would try to maybe say it properly because I don't speak Aztec either. Huitzilopochtli was the war god, and they celebrated him more than most of the other gods. Basically, in order to do that, well, here you go. Oh, there's a modern-ish picture of Tenochtitlan, the capital. You can still go see it. There's another pyramid. This one.
Do you know if that's where the pyramid of the sun, the moon, and the serpent is?
I don't know. What's it called? Tell me again.
Is the pyramid of the sun, the moon, and the serpent there?
I don't know that one specifically, but they've got a bunch. There's a lot of them still standing, so it wouldn't surprise me if yes. But the Inca also built pyramid structures, so I don't know if it's Inca or Aztec, the one that you're asking about. It could be one or the other, and they're roughly the same area.
It's because the picture looked familiar, and I went to go see them in 2017.
Oh,
And I
cool.
climbed
Okay.
up the biggest one. But yeah, it's Aztec.
It's Aztec. Fantastic. There you go. Yeah, they're still around. Like you can visit them, which impresses me to death that they could build something so structurally sound to last, because we're talking thousands and thousands of years now. Yeah. So the way that they celebrated and paid tribute to the war god was human sacrifice. I don't know. There's what's the movie? Apocalypto. If you've ever seen Apocalypto, it's basically a movie about the Aztecs. I don't know, I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. I don't know. It's a Mel Gibson movie, and I kind of on Mel Gibson, so but I don't know. I think it's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be very accurate, and they speak Aztec in the movie. So I don't know, but I think there's a human sacrifice scene in the film. Actually, I'm not sure. Check it out if you're interested. I don't know. But yes, they did practice human sacrifice. The whole idea here is that they believed blood of their sacrifices was a tribute to the war god, and the war god is the god that kept the sun burning. So you definitely want to keep that guy happy, right? So they would sacrifice either prisoners of war or slaves that people gave them as tribute, like people they had conquered gave them as tribute, or, you know, on rare occasions, their own citizens, if they didn't have anybody else, basically. So there are some historians who believe now that it wasn't as prevalent as we previously thought, that maybe, yes, they did practice human sacrifice, but it wasn't like a daily thing, or it wasn't a weekly or even a monthly thing, that it was just an every now and then kind of thing. And that they themselves talked about it a lot and spread rumors and told everybody to talk about it, so that whenever they came across, you know, like another town or something that they wanted to conquer, they had already heard of the Aztec and their human sacrifice. And so they were already thinking, oh, these people are scary. They're crazy. They sacrifice people, you know, type of situation, to sort of strike fear in the hearts of everybody who had heard of them, basically. I don't know. I don't know. They didn't really keep a lot of records. The records they kept were mostly drawings and oral tradition. So I don't know. You can kind of see, but maybe not a lot of human sacrifice, but there was definite human sacrifice involved. Okay. That's basically all of chapter 1. We just covered all of chapter 1. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
I have a question over the book.
Yes.
I can save that for later if you need to.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so you said that you didn't necessarily have page numbers, and I'm not sure if in the syllabus it said that I take 2 history classes,
Okay.
so I might be confused, but I thought it said that we had to be very specific with our page numbers.
Oh, like when you cite sources?
Yeah. So how is there a certain book we can get? Because I also have a PDF.
Okay. I think if you, I think I have mine set up to where it's, wait, I don't know. Yeah, I have mine set up so where it doesn't show me the page numbers, but I can flip through and it will tell me on the side. If I hit show notes on the side, it'll tell me the page I'm on. So maybe that will work. If not, if you don't have a specific page number, just put like, just get as close as possible. Like the subheading maybe of which section you're talking about. That'll work.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure how specific
That's
you
fine.
needed our citations to be.
It's fine. Really. Honestly, no. Yeah. If you just want to put the subheading of the chapter or really just the chapter you're in, I mean, I've read it a few times now. I'll find it's either there or it's not. I'll find it. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Whatever.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not super picky about that stuff. If it's in a paper, like a like a midterm essay or a final essay, be a little more specific, but for just discussion questions and stuff, I'm not really worried about that. You don't have to be as specific. Okay, let's talk about, I don't want to talk about chapter 2 yet. Let's talk about the, did you read the article about Columbus? The Elizabeth Colbert article in the New Yorker about Columbus? Yes? Anyone? Anyone? Are you planning on reading it for Wednesday? Is that the deal? That's okay if you are.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask a few questions right off the bat. One, I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this question. I'm so sorry. Okay, so one, what did you learn about Columbus when you were in school? was there something in particular? I mean, did you all learn in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue? That thing? Yes. Okay. Did your teacher tell you Columbus discovered America? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Was there anything else that you learned about Columbus? Or was that pretty much it?
But the
I
fact
think
that
he was trying to.
basically a slaver and a rapist and basically slaughtered a bunch of people. Yeah, pretty much it.
Your
But-
teacher taught you that?
Yeah, she was more progressive.
Fantastic. Okay. Awesome. They're ahead of the game. Okay. Yeah, because usually we just learn what was there's another one too, that he's trying to prove the world was round, that the world wasn't flat.
Yeah, he was trying to get to India.
Yes, he's trying to get to India and eventually China. And he's trying to find a faster way to get there, which was true. He's trying to find a faster route to China, essentially, is what he's trying to do. So just randomly, my youngest is a third grader, and last week, they talked about Columbus in their social studies class. So I listened in to what his teacher had to say about Christopher Columbus. Now, granted, he's in third grade, so she is not going to be graphic or even really historically accurate when it comes to describing Columbus to a group of third graders. I totally understand that. However, it was all, there he is. Hi, get out of here. Thank you very much. It was all Columbus discovered America. He's trying to prove that the world was round. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And that was basically it. And so I know this drives him crazy, but then at the end of his social studies, I was like, no. We're having a discussion about Columbus right now. He's like, Mom, no, please, no, I don't. I can't help it though. I can't help it. Okay, so, but we still celebrate Columbus Day. We still have Columbus Day. And a lot of people get off work for Columbus Day still. I don't know. Which is interesting to me. Why? Why do you think that is? Why do we still celebrate Columbus?
Because like essentially like from what I heard is that many couple like decades when when immigrants flooded United States they were historians I think it was the same guy who wrote Sleepy Hollow basically.
Washington
Basically
Irving. Yes.
indulged a sugar-coated version of Christopher Columbus, and and basically they wanted for Italians to give an inspiration, and which is one of the reasons on why we celebrate a man who basically slaughtered a bunch of Indians or natives.
Yeah, we have a tendency to do that in American history. Sugarcoat things from the past or whitewash them to make them more tolerable, essentially. The whole, what is it? Washington chopping down the cherry tree and I cannot tell a lie and Honest Abe and we build up these heroes to give us heroes basically in American history. The thing is, with the very few exceptions, most of these guys are just regular guys. And sometimes these guys are awful people, but we need them to be better people so that we don't feel so bad about what has happened since. Kind of, you know what I mean? Okay. But yeah, Washington Irving rewrote an account of Christopher Columbus, and that sort of becomes the standard that we used from then on. But Christopher Columbus was born in Italy, so Italian. Tried very, very hard to get a sponsorship to find a faster way to China. That was the ultimate goal, find a faster way. He thought if he sailed west to get to the east, it would be faster. The thing is, when you read this article, you go through the article, he was so far off on his calculations on just about everything. His math and his assumptions and his calculations on just about everything are so wildly off that it's amazing this guy didn't die at sea several times. Yeah, he just got incredibly lucky quite a few times. But there is some interesting information in the article that you should be looking for, paying attention to. I think what we'll do is I will stop for today and we will talk about chapter 2, which I think is mainly what's like European conquest, European exploration. And that talks more about Columbus. So we'll talk about it then. And then I do want to ask you guys about what you thought about the article on Wednesday. So if you could read it, I would very much appreciate it. Also, your quiz is available on Wednesday. I think it opens on Wednesday. Yes. Quiz 2 is due Wednesday night and it's open. It opens tomorrow, I think, and then is due Wednesday. And then your discussion question for this week opens on Thursday. And don't forget, you have to post to that by Friday afternoon to get full credit for the discussion. And you also have to comment on another couple people's. It has to be an actual discussion, not just a post an assignment, you're done. It's an actual discussion, or supposed to be at least. So original post by Friday afternoon, and it closes Sunday night. So just whenever. Trying to think if there's anything else. Do you guys have any questions?
How long does the discussion post have to be and the responses?
The response is not that long. Just a question or a, hey, you talked about this. I also talked about that. What did you think? Or, just something engaging with a fellow classmate. But your original post has to be at least a couple good paragraphs.
Okay.
There's a question. Actually, there's 3 or 4 questions, and you're just responding to that question.
Okay.
A couple good paragraphs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. There are SI sessions available for you this week, Monday and Wednesday, 2 to 4, I think. Don't quote me on that. She posted it on the class webpage. Natasha posted the times and the link on the class webpage. If you would like to attend those, you're more than welcome. You get extra credit. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
How do we prove to you that we went to the SI meetings? Do we need to take a picture, or will she let you know?
No. Okay, so it's they're supposed to be anonymous. I'm not supposed to know. She can't tell me that you attended a meeting. However, I can ask her, hey, did Carlos attend an SI meeting this week? And she can say, oh yeah, he attended a meeting this week. Nah, and I can count it like that. She can't tell me that you've attended, but I can ask her. That's how we're getting around this and giving extra credit for that. So
Okay, thank you.
So she'll let me know. Okay. Anybody else? Good. Okay. I'm going to hang around for a few more minutes in case you think of anything, but if not, I will see you on Wednesday, okay? Bye, guys.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
I have a quick question for you before we leave. Sorry. I just wanted to double check. So you said that the quiz will be open on Wednesday and it's due that night as well?
It opens It opens, I think, technically at midnight tonight.
Okay.
And then it's due by Wednesday at midnight.
Okay. And then the discussion, is that's due Friday night?
It opens on Thursday and it's due by Sunday. However,
Sunday.
yeah, the thing is with those discussion posts, you have to post your original couple paragraphs answering the question by Friday afternoon.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
no, no.
I was just gonna ask, so kind of have my original post, but maybe like, do I need to do the responses on Friday, or could I do that before Sunday, or should I have my responses as well due on Friday?
No, responses are not due until it closes. So midnight Sunday night.
Okay.
Your just your original post is due by Friday noon.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe if I make it Friday noon, that would give you guys Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do like to post, comments or discussion.
Okay. And is there a certain amount of people we should know?
At least 2, but
Okay.
as many as you want. Just a couple is fine. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
You're welcome. Thanks. See you later.